Welcome, strangers, to Talkumentary, a show where we watch documentaries and then get together and talk about them.
I'm blinded by that.
Get out of here, you
hot
flies.
Accoutrement, what is that?
Come on, will you do me a kindness?
I don't want any more bullshit anytime during the day from anyone. And that includes another episode of Talkumentary. Welcome back, everyone. My name's Jeff, and this is Talkumentary episode number 9. Hi, guys.
Woo woo!
Hello.
Tonight, we are in the Talkumentary den with King James.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
Good golly, Miss Molly.
Hey.
And Brice.
Good evening.
Good evening. We have this evening cursed our way down here, slammed the door on the way in, and loved every second of it. Because this week we watched a very angry and overheated 85-minute documentary called
Winnebago Man.
Winnebago Man.
Winnebago Man.
All right, here we go. The Winnebago Concepts and Engineering Departments have developed a multifunctional bathroom. Privacy, I don't even know what the I'm reading. Let's slate this. Yeah, you big dumb son of a...
I love this clip. I watch it like every time I'm in a bad mood.
Oh, I've seen this like hundreds of times. This guy's a legend. Jack Rebney would be the holy grail of stars to meet from these videos.
We could never find him, so we just assumed he was gone.
You believe any of that? Get out of here, you flies.
This was a 2009 documentary that follows a filmmaker as he searches for, finds, and connects with the star of one of the first viral outtake videos, Mr. Jack Rebney. He became an internet phenomenon when the videos of him losing his ever-loving shit in frustration during a sales promotion for Winnebago RVs. This was a fun one, guys.
It was fun.
It was definitely a little bit different from the last couple that we did, but fun and funny. Winnebago Man has won several awards, believe it or not. Grand Jury Award for Best Documentary at the Sarasota Film Festival in 2009. The Grand Jury Award at the Edmonton International Film Festival in 2009. Audience Award at Cinevegas International Film Festival in 2009. And the Austin Film Award at Austin Film Critics Association in 2010. We got some pretty awesome reviews. Some of these are pretty funny. This one is from The Stranger, which is fitting, saying, quote, Rebney is fascinating and clever and magnetic and vulnerable and relentlessly hilarious. His careful, erudite, basso speech forever developing into volleys of fuck, 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 fucks. Winnebago Man is about an old man and a new world meeting halfway, which I think is a pretty good one. Winnebago Man is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes with a 90% tomato meter, 62 reviews, and an audience score of 80% with over 10,000 ratings. Directed by and starring Ben Steinbauer. Produced by Joel Heller, Malcolm Pullinger, and Ben Steinbauer. This film was a production by The Bear and Field Guide Media, distributed by Kino International, and we streamed it on
Tubi. Or not Tubi.
Tubi for sure, because it's free.
Right.
Yeah.
This is not an advertisement for Tubi.
Yeah, well, I can't endorse it, but I have watched one documentary from it.
Right. And that documentary
Is this one.
is this one. Mhm.
Yeah.
So far.
It's called The Winnebago Man.
The Winnebago Man. No, just Winnebago Man.
Oh, just Winnebago
No
Man.
the.
There's no the.
All right. So a quick warning before we get into this episode. If you haven't seen this documentary yet, go to Tubi and check it out before you listen. This is your one and only spoiler alert. So Tony, do me a kindness and go watch this first. Nothing? All right.
That's a good reference to a documentary they might have not watched.
They might not have seen yet.
There's a lot
Let's talk
of
about
cussing in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why we chose to watch Winnebago Man. Brice, whether you knew it or not, you were the dealer for this one. So tell us why you chose this doc.
Good job, Brice.
Well, I chose this one because I didn't know I was choosing it. Mm-hmm. And also because it's a guy selling Winnebagos. Mm-hmm. And that is just the most luxurious trailer camper you can have.
Yeah. So
You would know, Brice, because you lived out of your van, you know?
When they were
Winnebago
talking,
Oh,
would
go
just
ahead
been
and
a
tell the world
step up.
his sleeping arrangements.
I live indoors now. But,
Yes, yeah.
Good for you,
more
man.
than van doors, but yeah, when they were talking about how many post office boxes he has, that made sense to me because it's like, oh yeah, he's just been living around.
Yeah.
It's great.
What were your expectations or your predictions before you had seen it? Had you seen this before we did it for our show?
No, I think I'm the youngest out of the documentary crew. So this was not within my realm of memes or viral videos growing up, unfortunately. But the couple of viral videos that they did have in there, I was familiar with. And I was very happy about it.
I had never seen.
James is looking at me like I'm crazy, calling myself the youngest here. But
Well, you are the youngest one here, you know. So.
But yeah, this is a little bit before my time, so I was interested to see the
and you're the only female here too.
I am right now. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It was interesting to see viral videos
Before there was internet.
before there was internet. Yeah,
Yeah.
like spreading it through VHS. Like I had VHS tapes as a kid, but like I had like The Lion King and stuff on it to like put me to sleep when I was like 6. Like it wasn't sharing them, and so
The original viral videos were copied VHS tapes and passed from one person to the next, and then they left, you know, they lost a little bit of their quality as they went, and so
just added more charm.
yeah.
Right.
Although I don't recall ever doing that where we like found something funny and then, you know, copied it and sent it on to our friends or anything. I know there was some times where we would give movies and things, but you know, you record it off of the TV and then you know, write on it, and then you cross it out and put it in your camcorder and record things like that. So anyway, I thought that was pretty funny. I expected, you know, I hadn't seen this before we covered it for this show. I expected it to be fairly lighthearted. I expected it to be full of angry outbursts. You know,
That it was.
yeah. And maybe it was just the mood that I was in or something when I watched it, but it actually wasn't quite as funny as I thought it was going to be. You know, one of the things this was touted as being one of the funniest documentaries ever made was the tagline. And although it did have funny parts, most of the funny parts were from the original outburst videos, not from the documentary itself. And I feel like that was where the humor came in. The most of the documentary itself was actually pretty heartfelt, I guess, in some ways, and sad in other ways.
Right.
And at least that was the feeling I got from it.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Same here. I think that when they first made this documentary, it was funny then. More funnier then than now. But now, since cyberbullying and everything has become more popular, that was able to move forward. I guess back in the day, they were a little bit more discreet.
All right. So let's get into a quick and dirty synopsis of the doc before we get into some of our standout moments. This film starts with director Ben Steinbauer, who ended up being kind of one of the characters in the film, not just the filmmaker. He was basically one of the two main characters in the film. It was his relationship with Jack Rebney. But Ben Steinbauer was obsessed with this hilarious set of outtakes from an RV commercial shoot centering on outrageous and frustrated outbursts of the spokesperson for Winnebago, who at the time was Jack Rebney. The video started circulating before the internet boom, and as we were saying earlier, the physical VHS tapes were being passed around and copied. Steinbauer, being a filmmaker, decides he wants to try to find Jack Rebney and let the world meet him decades after the release of the outtakes, but Rebney proved difficult to find, even with the help of a PI that he hired. Eventually, he tracks him down. Winnebago Man, the infamous Winnebago Man, was in a remote mountain area in California, where he served as the caretaker for a little fishing lake. At this point, he is a self-proclaimed hermit who enjoys being alone. And to Steinbauer's surprise, Rebney is nothing like he was portrayed in his videos. Instead, he was calm. He was well-spoken. He didn't seem to be bothered at all by the attention that he was getting from his outtake videos. He actually seemed to find them somewhat humorous. And sort of disappointed, Steinbauer goes home after a little bit of spending a little time with him. However, Brice, what did we find out shortly after that?
Just imagine going all the way out there to meet this guy, and he's just the sweetest old man.
He looks like he meditates for fun.
Yeah, kumbaya, and all that stuff.
He's out there living off the grid in a 76-year-old cabin.
It's a nice cabin, too.
It is a nice cabin,
Yeah, pretty sweet setup, honestly. Yep. Yeah. And you go out there, you film this. He's just the sweetest guy for years and years watching these outtakes of him just losing his shit, you know?
Yep.
And then you go home and you're like, okay, we've got this video.
I don't have a documentary to produce. This sucks.
You upload it so people know what's going on.
At best, you've got a YouTube video that shows, hey, the guy that used to be mad is now calm and serene.
Yep.
Yeah,
At best, yeah.
And then later you get a call. You get a call from him. And he's just shooting the shit with you. And you're like, yeah, all right. He's a good friend now. That's cool.
Yeah.
And then he calls you up and says, I was just pretending. Mm-hmm. That's not really how I feel about this.
Yep.
And then you got to go back out there and get the real story.
Yeah. So he gets this call from Rebney, or several calls from Jack, that basically said, I was simply acting calm and unbothered, and in reality, I've been angry for years about this whole thing, and part of the reason I'm out here in seclusion is because I'm just mad at everybody, and I got things I want to say, and I want people to hear it. And he basically, Steinbauer decides to go meet the real Jack Rebney, and it was a serious turning point when he went back the second time. You could tell that he was being himself, because everything that was said to him had some kind of a smart ass.
That man is living out of spite.
Yeah,
right.
He was an angry dude. Yeah, angry, but also just so cynical. So
and so blunt. Just straightforward.
Yeah.
Very direct.
Right.
Very direct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which you don't like it.
Yeah,
you can get your stuff and just go.
Yep, pack up and go.
Yeah, you said, man. Yeah, go ahead on.
This is much closer to the character that was displayed in those original Winnebago commercials, which sort of, I think, to the delight of Steinbauer, he was meeting the real Jack Rebney.
Right.
Despite his attempts to get Jack to open up and be vulnerable and talk about personal things that Jack's fans maybe would enjoy, Jack said, I got stuff I want to say, but he was he had a hard time telling him what exactly it was he wanted to say, besides that he thinks Dick Cheney is a dick. That was really the only thing. Say what?
Something about hot pokers up the rear end.
Yeah.
Would make his day.
Yep. So eventually, with the help of Jack's longtime friend, Keith, they get Jack to go to the Found Footage Festival in San Francisco, where Jack has a chance to meet a bunch of his fans who he initially assumed were just going to be a bunch of idiots. But there was a little heartfelt moment in this when Jack realizes that his fans are maybe not the young idiots that he thought they were, and he starts to feel like maybe I do have a little bit of, they do have a little bit of humanity, and maybe they're not just making fun of me. It's more of a fandom thing. And he eventually admits that his fans are more intelligent than he anticipated, and seems to take a little bit of pride actually in some of the, I guess, being the way he said it was being the representation of the human condition in the face of adversity. So, Brice, let's start with you, man. That was sort of the short run. Now, what things about Winnebago Man stood out? Good, bad, ugly, or otherwise?
I think it was good. A lot of good things came out of it. First, because it talked about these videos that first went viral. I mean, YouTube and the internet craze of viral videos had just begun. Otherwise, it was, have you seen Lord of the Rings? Yes, it was amazing. but then it turns into, have you seen this video of this old man swearing at this Winnebago?
Right.
So it takes us back in time a little bit to kind of where it all began there. I think the director had a hard time telling the story he wanted to see out of this.
Yeah.
Because Jack's an old man, and it seemed like the things he wanted to say his piece were maybe just a politically charged old man ramblings, and that didn't make the
just a grumpy old guy.
That didn't make the cut of the documentary.
Right. Nor would it have appealed to the fans. I mean, it has nothing to do with the original content.
Right.
Which I think was where the director and Jack were most at odds, is Jack's going, well, this is the story I want to tell, which is just, let's bitch about the government and whatnot. And, Steinbauer's going, but that's not who you are. Like, you already have a fan base. Let's work on that.
Yeah. People aren't his fans because of his intellect and his opinions on things, which is unfortunate, but he was famous for getting angry. So let's capitalize on that.
Right. Yeah. James, what about you, man? What stood out to you? What you like? What'd you not like?
I definitely like his dog, Booty.
Oh,
Buddha.
so
Buddha.
cute.
Yep. Another thing stood out to me was the fact that, like he said, he wasn't afraid to say what he wanted to say.
Yeah.
Like when I kind of felt sad for him when he lost his sight and was lost in the woods and stuff, and he just came right out and just said exactly what happened with no sugarcoating or anything, And plus, I do like the tie they got too, but no. But all in all, I mean, he's like a man that lived in his world and refused to see the new world, kind of like, to me.
Yeah.
But
he was very like hermit-like, and being able to show him, I mean, he had his computer, but it didn't sound like he wanted much to do with it. So Steinbauer and they kind of showed him, like you said, the new world, the modern world. And I think he was a little bit surprised by it. I know I immediately kind of felt bad for him. When they started at the beginning of the doc, when they started talking about, the Star Wars kid and Alexi Vayner, who made the Key to Success videos, and just sort of how the introduction to cyberbullying and just how absolutely heartless and cruel people can be on the internet when they're behind the internet, when they're behind their screen. And so knowing the kind of thing they spoke on, what the Star Wars kid and the other guy, Alexi, what the sort of things that they had to deal with post those videos. The original viral videos and still today, a lot of the ones that we see and that really go far are ones that are an act of humiliation for the people that are in there. Those are the things that get laughed at, those are the things that get attention, people falling over and all that. And then, there's people who have capitalized on that by putting themselves through stupid shit just so that they get, clicks. But
you can say jackass. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, but I'm a fan. That's the thing is it's hard to not be into those. But at the same time, when you look at the people that it affects, I felt sad for him. That was the first, like, if you're going to go, and he never admitted that it was because of that, but it's hard to imagine that somebody, in that, with that sort of notoriety didn't maybe go away because of the negative attention he was getting. And when you've got pride, it's hard to sometimes hear those things. And these guys weren't raised in the age of the internet where maybe it's a little easier to let the trolls roll off your back, but what those things maybe affect you a little bit more.
It was also sad because Winnebago, like the actual company, said that they didn't want anything to do with the commercials or with Jack Rebney. So even if he liked the notoriety and the celebrity from it, like, it's not like he was gonna be able to work with that company again or continue
Right.
on with commercials because now you're just the Winnebago guy. Like,
Yeah.
that's it.
You're an angry
So
man.
what else are you going to do with your life when a company has publicly said they don't want anything to do with you and that's what you're known for?
Well, like they made the video for Winnebago, and Winnebago shot it down. So they fired Jack. And I don't know how many years of passing video cassettes around,
Right.
or VHS, before it got on the internet. But there had to be this long pause where Winnebago forgot all about
Probably
Jack.
didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't even
And then
remember.
one day it was a
Definitely.
viral sensation. And then they were like, yeah, that's not lining up with what we're going for
Yeah.
now.
This is not our values. Please
Yep.
don't.
Yeah.
Molly, anything stand out to you about this doc that you want to speak
I really liked Keith. I thought Keith was like one of my favorite
Yeah.
parts of the doc. And I have like so much respect for the producer sticking with Jack because
Yeah.
I do not have the wherewithal to stick with someone who's like berating me like that
Yeah.
verbally. And like he was there for a reason and he wanted to get that doc done, but talking him into going to the Found Footage Festival and when they were in the woods talking about stuff and the producer was like, what was his name?
on?
Ben, because I remember him saying
Steinbauer?
yeah, and then he was like Steinbanner, Steinburner, whatever your name is, come over here. Their relationship was really funny to me, and
Yeah.
they were in the woods talking about what Jack wanted to do versus what Ben wanted to do, and Ben was like trying to convince with him and stay with him
Yep.
on these things, and like I just do not have like
Yeah.
the gumption to stick with someone who talks like that and sticks like that, and like
I think that
Yeah.
there's the way I got it was that there's probably a little bit more of a mutual respect there than maybe they showed.
right.
Because it seemed like
It seemed like Jack liked him.
Yeah,
like
he
he
was-
called him. He wanted to talk on the
Exactly.
phone with him.
it makes me wonder how much of that was
Right.
was going on behind the scenes where, you know, you're sort of razzing someone, you're a little back and forth.
Right.
That's kind of like a typical guy thing to do sometimes where, you know, that back and forth. So especially with an older guy like Jack, I'll bet you Ben gave his fair share of cheap shots at
I
him.
sure
and,
hope so.
And yeah, at least that's the
Yeah.
the feeling I got.
And I
You're
feel
not
like with being friends with Keith,
Yeah.
that guy seemed so genuine and like he was great on camera and everything. Like you probably
Yeah.
wouldn't have relationships with someone sticking out that long if
Yeah.
he didn't have something kind to him. But it was so hard to get through
yeah.
the
Rough
the
exterior.
rough exterior of it. Yeah. And like you saw him with his dog and that was so precious and heartfelt.
Yeah.
And him with his hand on Ben and Keith's shoulders, like being
Yep.
guided through and like
Yeah.
those kind of things just like they tear at your heartstrings a little bit.
Yeah, and you wonder how much
yeah.
of some of the outbursts too
Yeah.
is when the camera's around.
Right. And you
know.
always have a soft spot for like older people, especially when they
Yeah.
have like deteriorating vision and things.
Yeah, their
So,
health is maybe
yeah. Mm-hmm.
going downhill. Can we just talk about though that
What's happening, James?
What's happening, Jay? Who's calling? Who's important?
What else? Blanket phone, summer bucking, dicking phone, God darn it. That's all I can say about that, you know. Hey, Tony, can you get that phone for me?
Would you do me a kindness?
Would you do me a kindness?
so can we talk about the fact that Keith, when he called Jack, he called him Boobsy?
Yeah. Then they never like explained what was
Boobsy, huh?
Yeah.
Is that a nickname that old guys call each other
I know.
regularly?
I feel like an old angry man like that would not want to be called Boobsy either.
yeah.
That's probably why he does it.
Probably. So for me, the standout moment was by far, you know, the end when he was
at the
on stage
festival.
at the festival, when he finally got up on stage. He killed it up there.
Oh my God, he did
Yeah, he
so
did.
great.
Yeah.
I got a little bit nervous when he was up there going, is he going to just clam up? Is he
Right.
going to start berating people? Is he going to, but
Only
it
talk
was
about
like,
Dick Cheney.
yeah, yeah. He started to go that
It was
direction.
a tasteful little
Yeah.
bit of Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
And then he brought it back.
Yeah, he said the only person that I maybe hate is Dick Cheney. Like, okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
It was almost like he was. It
He
was
was
like
happy.
Yeah, it was.
He's
It was a
happy.
very natural responses. They were very thoughtful and everything. And the way that he interacted with his fans afterwards, I mean, he wasn't wanting to, if he was, they didn't show it, but he wasn't wanting to like leave right away. He wasn't
He took
hoping
pictures,
to be
he did
done.
autographs,
He was smiling with them. He was shaking hands. He was saying, nice to meet you, which wasn't exactly what I was expecting. I was almost kind of holding my breath going, when's he going to get tired of this?
Right.
I was actually really touched that he was feeling that. And we don't know his history. You know, we don't know his family history. When Ben tried to talk to him about that earlier in the doc, he shut it down immediately and said, we're not going to talk about that. So we don't know what any of that is. So we don't know if he's had family, if he has kids, if he's ever had a wife or anything like that. And so in my mind, when he's there having these people come up and say, you know, it's so nice to meet you. And that could be one of the, I don't want to say first times because he's obviously got friends, but one of the few times maybe in his life where he really felt adored and loved and treasured and like he meant something to somebody. And I think that's probably why he felt so, his opinions changed of the people. I mean, he goes, wait, they're not just here to give me a hard time. They're applauding me with how, you know, me being myself on stage. I thought that was really cool. And it looked like he enjoyed every second of it.
And the people were nice to him, you know. I mean, he had nobody if somebody in the audience would have went off like he would, then he would have been like vindicated, like, yeah, that's what I thought. They were a bunch of idiots.
Right.
Yeah. But since no one did that, they just applauded him and stuff. And he was happy anyway from the beginning. I think it's through all the cursing that he does, if you read his facial expressions, he just was a lonely man. Mm-hmm. Once he realized that he was seen and people like him, like you said, that's when he was happier.
That's a long time, a lot of privacy, a long time out there in the woods. Definitely leaves you kind of stewing on things when you're, you know, if you've ever been sick for a long period of time at home, even then you're going, I need to get out and be around somebody. And, you know, your spirits can start to, you know, drop, and that loneliness can be real. But I will say and we mentioned this a little bit before, his little setup out at that lake with the cabin and the
sweet.
Serene.
That sounds pretty nice to me.
It's like all of your guys' dreams
to
go out there.
Yep. Although
it was my last summer.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yep. Let's see. Did we feel like this told a good story? Do we feel like the Steinbauer did a good job telling the story of Jack?
I think so.
I think so too. I actually really enjoyed watching this just because it wasn't a lot to follow along with. I felt like there was enough context. We got to see a lot of different sides of Jack. Like, I truly felt like we hit all of the points of pathos and like everything, where like we were worried that he was going to be angry, and it was funny to watch him cursing, and then he realized that the people who are fans of him are normal people who are getting a laugh out of seeing someone else who is frustrated, and it's not out of really humiliation like it is with other viral videos, because it's people who want to feel validated in, like when I do something stupid, I cuss at myself. Like sometimes I apologize to chairs when I kick them by accident, like stuff like that. And so him getting so mad and being like, God damn it, I forgot my line. Fuck, the fucking flies. Like everyone's kind of been there where they've just had that day.
Oh, my God. Yes.
So many times.
And when they talked about how hot it was out there and the flies and the
I can see why his temper was so high.
There's no way I wouldn't have been in the same boat as him. Would have done the same thing. And been just as angry, especially if I was as particular as it seemed like he was, because he was a very well-spoken man. He had a good vocabulary.
And he had great experience at news stations. He was like a writer and stuff for like different reports and
You put anyone in Iowa with 100 degrees and 98% humidity, and
right.
And a
that's
million
what you're going
flies.
to get. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you put them inside an RV that's not with AC on, probably.
If you've not yelled, "Get out of here, you fucking flies," and thrown your arms wildly through the air.
And yelled at the unpaid intern
like
to
you just
get you
don't care.
things.
Yeah. You just haven't lived.
Yeah.
You haven't. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I know we've all been in those places where it would be very easy to do it. And if all of our outbursts were on video,
Right.
you know,
We would go viral too.
it very well could happen. As far as being a well-made documentary, I mean, it's a few years old now, so it dated itself quickly.
Yes.
But for a make it as you go kind of documentary, I think it was made pretty well.
Right. Especially when Ben didn't know if he was going to even get a documentary out of it without Jack calling him first. Like,
right. And it felt pretty organic for the most part, even if it was somewhat planned out. I feel like it would have been difficult to do that unless it was organic.
Right.
Their friendship, you know, the kind of it's starting with Ben's obsession with the videos to tracking him down with the, you know, the struggle to find him. Those are all good story elements to a story. And then Jack's unwillingness to play nice, and then eventually coming back. It's, you know, that little twist in the middle of the movie kind of, or the novel or whatever it may be.
Right.
And then getting to the point where this old man who has felt lonely, he finally feels some love and has gained a new friend. And, you know, and at the end he's waving on his porch with little Buddha next to his leg. And
it felt like
you
a
know,
natural conclusion that you want out of an actual movie, and there was enough context there.
Right.
Then like background research, which we've been frustrated with before, not getting any like background.
Yep.
I felt like it was executed so well for how minimal of a story that this could have been. Like this could have been 30 minutes of an episode of being like, where is he now? And I felt like it was very well developed for the amount of context that was there.
Yeah, I like the end of it.
Oh,
Just
so cute.
show the sweetness of him at the end.
Yep.
You know, and he's way. As a matter of fact, I think he himself, Jack, is the one that just told the story about himself.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, and I think that the lack of history, like personal history from him, being that it was his choice to not talk about those things, that kind of like Molly was saying, that sort of made up, I think, for some of the lack of context about who this guy is, because all we needed to know about him was the videos, the Winnebago videos. So I was definitely happy for Jack. You know, he was able to accept that he was not just hated by everyone, didn't have to hate everyone back. Toward the end, though, it did leave me to wonder, after the film crew left and everything, like, did he change his mind about seclusion? Was the reason that he was out there because he wasn't feeling loved, and the reason he wanted to be a hermit was because he had this thing looming up above him that he thought was much bigger and worse than it was? You know, I mean, obviously we don't know the answer to this, but what do you guys think? Do you think that once all that was done and now he's back out in the woods blind and with his dog?
I forgot that he's blind.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it's a switch on. I think the guy that he saved that was homeless and living in his basement, Keith. Now Keith is well-to-do, well off. So now they could switch roles. Now I figure at the end of the video, this guy is not going to be walking around the woods too much longer.
Yeah.
So he might go in with Keith. Keith might be his caretaker then, you know, which would be cool, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was an interesting point that was brought up about him having brought Keith in at one point from homelessness, and that was sort of what started their, you know, brotherhood sort of. So yeah, I wish that we knew kind of, is he still out in the woods? You know, obviously there's always a desire to know what happens next, but I do think it stopped at the right point. If it had gone much longer than that, it would have been like, okay, do we really care about what's happening now, or is it just a curiosity type of thing?
Yeah, I need a 2021, 2022 update about where Jack Rebney is right now.
Yeah.
I did Google it to see if he passed away, and I don't think has, because
No,
I
I
couldn't
Googled that
find
as well.
anything about it.
As far as the old internet says, he's still alive and well, and probably hating Walmart and getting.
I hope he found peace in the seclusion eventually, and his cabin in the woods turned from somewhere where he was hiding from hate into loving himself and being out there and kind of just being cool with whatever his life took him from there, because he was already an old man. Like, it's not like he's going to get another Winnebago ad that he needed to film. So
Yeah.
Maybe.
maybe.
I don't think he went out there to hide away or anything. I think he just wanted to be away from people and enjoy nature.
That's what I feel too.
Yeah, I think he was just like, you see him on camera and he's always putting on a performance. Whether it's that first video we see where he's this nice old man, or when he's on stage just killing it.
Yep.
But it was like more the one-on-one conversations with his fans where I think we really got to see him.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that makes me wonder. And of course, we're seeing this from the view of the Winnebago Man. This, this guy who is known as the angriest man in the world, but the way he loved to perform, like you said, whether it was, acting like he was calm or he was on stage, that doesn't strike me as the typical guy who wants seclusion. That strikes me as someone who wants to be around people. And maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but to me it seemed like, oh, is this over now? Is that what, now that I've learned that things are good, my hope is that he I don't know, whatever makes me. Jack, if you're out there listening, we hope you're happy. We hope that you know that you have a lot of fans out there. I was, just to go back a little bit to his fans, they walked down the line and they were talking to everyone who was lined up around the block to see his video and then meet him. Right. I had a little fear based on some of the people they were talking to that this was going to be a sort of my fear for when we watched Grey Gardens as well was the, is this just a sideshow? Are they here to see the crazy? Because the one guy was saying, I'm hoping to see a lot of angry outbursts and a lot of, whatever. And I'm going, man.
Yeah, that guy was kind of an asshole.
Yeah, and he did turn it around a little. I think he kind of corrected himself at the end.
Yeah,
I think they showed him on where he said, this, I'm glad that he's he did a good job. He seems like a happy guy, and he was well spoken. So, but he gave just enough, fire up on his performance that made it interesting, and you still know that this is the Winnebago Man, right?
Right.
But that was my fear watching that was the fact that people come out to see. It's one thing if you go see a comedian, their job is to get up there and make a fool of themselves and be laughed at, right? This guy didn't come here to be your court jester. If he's getting laughed at, if they're, sort of teasing him or, having fun at his expense, then that's fucked up. And we don't need that. And I would hope that they wouldn't, that the showrunners wouldn't have done that, because they seem to be starstruck when they met him.
Yeah.
The guys who run the found footage festival.
They're like, this is the best night of our lives
ever.
This is true meeting a celebrity.
I'm sure that made him feel pretty good.
Right.
And they presented him with a very heartfelt award.
What was that, Bryce?
It was a fly swatter.
A fly swatter. An official fly swatter.
Yeah, he was
also
holding
him,
on that.
him posing.
He was.
He's
He was
posing
proud
with
of
it.
that. Yep.
And he's probably going to use it at his cabin.
Yeah. Anything that wasn't talked about in this that you had wished was talked about, or do we think they did a pretty good job of encapsulating everything, or anything you want to touch on at all? Anyone?
There is one thing I want to touch on. When he was on stage, they let him in the building, he was getting ready to go on stage. And at some point, someone should have said, hey, let me hold your coat. But no, they just let him on stage and he was holding this coat and it was awkward. I was like, someone take his coat. He's on stage. But
right.
No,
and
he's just holding his coat the whole time.
He can't see the coat racks.
Yeah, it really bothered me. I don't really know why. But that's one thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of nice, Brice.
Yeah. You would have been the guy in the crowd that stood up and said, hey, Jack, let me hold your coat.
I don't stand up in crowds.
Oh, fair enough. For me, the only thing that maybe was a little misleading about this is one of the taglines is the funniest documentary ever made. And I think I maybe mentioned this at the top of the show, but I definitely don't think it was. To me, this was more a heartwarming or heartfelt documentary. The comedy came from the original videos, and then his reaction to those in some, on stage, that was the comedy. To me, this was more of a story of, I don't remember the guy's name. It's at the top of my notes, and I'm not going to scroll up that far, but the guy who did the review that said it's sort of a guy in the past meeting the modern day world of the internet, and sort of those two worlds coming together and sort of, forming a bond, forming a friendship, which I thought was pretty nice.
I wish we would have gotten a little bit more context about Jack's life, honestly, even though, he obviously wasn't forthcoming with that information. Right. So it's to no fault of anyone, but it would have been so interesting to know what his life was like before he started writing and doing, the news and commercials, because he seems like he had a really interesting life. Like even just being involved with news reporting in general, especially in the time that he was with like journalism, when he was explaining that it was like more cold hard facts and that kind of thing. Like it would have just been interesting to see more about his career and life before his Winnebago Man. Before his Winnebago commercial.
James, any stones left unturned in the eyes of King James?
No. I kind of enjoyed the guy. He kind of reminded me of my grandpa.
Yeah.
Because my grandpa used to that's all he used to do, just sit on the porch, drink his gin, and just cuss you out. All the grandkids. It's like I got like 15 people in my family, like aunts and uncles. And then they all got kids, and we all eating together. And here come Grandpa walking across the floor, cussing everybody out. My grandma saying, "Hey, Greg, stop that, Greg! I don't care, Waterbill. I don't care. Well, after these little all kind of things.
Bleepity bleeps,
bleep bleeps, But anyway, and then he would just go sit down and just lay his head on the couch outside on the porch and fall asleep.
What was your grandmother's name?
Waterbill.
Such a cool name.
Yeah. That's such a cool name.
Waterbill Wilson.
Waterbill Wilson.
Yep.
All right. Finally, we've gotten to the part of our show where we need to do a official documentary rating, where each crew member gives a rating from 1 to 10 items, with those items changing every week depending on the documentary we have watched. A score of 1 is an absolute piece of fly-covered garbage, and a score of 10 means that it's on par with the best Winnebago RV that Jack Rebney was trying to sell. The item that we chose for this week is fucking flies. So, Brice, how many fucking flies are you rating the Winnebago Man?
Winnebago Man comes in at 6 fucking flies.
6 fucking flies. Malie.
I'm going to go ahead and give Jack Rebney and his Winnebagos 7 fucking flies.
All right. James, how many effing flies?
6 flies.
6 flies and no F's to give.
And I will give this 7 fucking flies. Which means, after averaging everyone's scores together, the official documentary rating for Winnebago Man is 6.5 fucking flies. That was fun.
That was fun.
Thanks, all you goddamn jackasses. All you accoutrements. Thanks, Tony and
Thanks
Tony.
for doing me a kindness.
Tony, for hanging out with us and discussing this documentary. I hope the crew in this room knows that if I ever have to film in an industrial sales video in 100-degree weather surrounded by a million flies, I hope you're all there to enjoy it with me so we can cuss at each other and all that good stuff. Now, let's talk about next week's episode. For next week, the crew will be making our way to an oil boom in North Dakota to discuss the 90-minute film from 2014 called The Overnighters. This film depicts the lives of people chasing the dream of high salaries in the North Dakota oil boom, only to discover that affordable housing is almost impossible to find, along with a whole bunch of other struggles in North Dakota. Has anyone here seen The Overnighters yet?
Yes.
Yeah. What'd you think, James?
I thought it was pretty interesting. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. What do you guys think, Brice and Molly? Any predictions about the overnighters?
I'm actually gonna watch it, and I predict that it's about people staying out overnight.
Wow, where'd you
Yes.
come up with that?
That's
Prediction.
intuitive.
Just off the top of my head.
Yeah, man, it's
Documentary about
almost
sleepovers,
Pillow fights.
pillow fights. Yeah.
you know this documentary Overnighters is one that I'm looking forward to it. I'm after watching the trailer, it is definitely one that I feel like there's going to be some heartbreak. It did feel pretty heavy. It sort of reminds me of maybe an Oregon Trail or a Gold Rush type thing where everyone's flooding to one part of the country because with the promise of
Fortune
riches. And just based on the trailer alone, I know that it doesn't quite go according to plan. So we're in for some hardship next week, I think. I'm expecting to not feel super great after watching that one. So everyone go out and check out the documentary The Overnighters before we come back next week. It can be streamed on Tubi, just like this one was. Next week, we're going to crawl into the back of our black, creepy vans. We're going to have our blankets and pillows, and we're going to try to make our way in the oil industry one documentary at a time. If you want to connect to the Talkumentary crew, look for @Talkumentary Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or you can shoot us an email at info.talkumentary@gmail.com. On behalf of DJ, Brice, Molly, King James, and the entire Talkumentary family, I am your host, Jeff Kolaski, and I want to thank you all for listening. I hope you keep your minds open and be kind to each other. You believe any of that shit? Bye.
Get out of here, you fucking flies.
I don't want any more bull from anyone. That includes me. You believe any of that? Get out of here, you flies.